Credo in unum Deum, Patrem omnipotente, Factorem celi et terrae, visibili unum
Commandment. I want to stop inside the
et
commandment.
invisibili.
Who they say all your father and your mother there? Is that the one? Is that where we are now? The what? The role of parents in moral formation. I feel like we're prepared today. The role of parents in we talked about the fact that God created us into a family, and His intention is that we have father, mother, and children in one family. That is why everyone has his own role in this family. The last time we talked about the role of the children, that they should honor, respect, and take care of their parents. Today, we're going to be talking about the role of parents in moral formation of their children. Now, the Catechism of the Catholic Church teaches us, first of all, that parents are the first educators of their children. That means that when you give birth to your child, it's expected that the child will begin to learn from you, not from your nanny, not from school teacher, not from caregiver, from you as the parents. So the basic formation of a child begins from the children. And that is why the parents have that first responsibility for the education of their children. So parents, as you give birth to your children, know that this is a primary responsibility. The child is coming into the world without any form of knowledge. So that child should not learn how to react to something from house girl or from your sister, not even from your mother coming to do amugo. No. Let the child take after you. Teach the child how to smile, teach the child how to talk, teach the child how, no matter how busy you are, make sure that you take that first responsibility should be there. So parents, be very conscious of that. Not when the child grows up, the child starts behaving like someone else. You are now wondering, where did you learn this one from? If you don't teach the child will learn from someone else. And at that tender age, when the child cannot talk, and the child may not be able to ask questions, they are still learning. They are just looking at you, they are learning. There is communication. Mothers, you know this, that even when you have babies and they don't talk, you know that there is communication. That is why when the baby is crying, you know you're able to figure out what is wrong. And when the baby is laughing, you're able to figure out what the baby is excited about, even without talking. So that means that you are able to connect with that baby, you are able to communicate. Fathers, you understand now? Not that when they just give birth now, you lock yourself inside one room, let the woman and the baby be in another room so they will not be disturbing you. Find time to be with your baby. Let your baby know your face first of all. Let the baby be able to recognize you as a father first of all. That is the beginning of formation. He knows that this is my father, this is my mother. Whether you like it or not, the fact that the baby is crying and the mother carries the baby keeps quiet, that is already a communication. That is a sign of authority. That's a command that the baby is with you and the baby keeps quiet. So if it's only the mother that carries the baby and keeps quiet, you the father, you carry the baby with shouting, that means the baby is saying you as a stranger. So you must make yourself available to your children when they give birth. Secondly, the parents, as the first educators have the responsibility of being the first witness and the first example to the children. The children at a very tender age learn from what you are doing. You cannot even tell them anything until they reach the age of prison, maybe 5 years, from 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Whatever you tell them doesn't make much sense. But they just do what they see you doing. That is the example that we are talking about here. So you must give that example. If I know you are not perfect, when you are with them, I beg, pretend. If you don't feel like praying, just lay down and fold your hand. Pretend that you are praying so that they will know. Don't say, I don't feel like, you don't feel like coming to church. Come to church and sleep. So that your children will know that on Sunday is for church. Not because you want to go to heaven. If you don't want to go to heaven, no problem. But the ones you are giving birth to, you have the responsibility of training them that Sunday is for church. And before you sleep, you pray. Before you eat, you pray. After eating, you pray. They must learn that from you. Even if you are not doing it before you give birth to them, you have the responsibility of giving them that example and that witness. That's why when the proverb chapter 22 verse 6 says, train up a child the way he should go, and when the child grows old, he will not depart from it. It's talking about the family setting. The child learns from your example, learns from your witnessing, more than your talking. Your talking only reaffirms what they see you doing. If you are doing something different from what you are telling them, no matter how much you talk, you are wasting your time. Because they have not even reached the age of reason to comprehend what you are saying. It's what they see you do that you do. So that is why we must show example as parents, and we must also be witnesses. In doing this, daily practice is very important. Daily practice of prayer, daily practice of honesty, daily practice of self-sacrifice, daily practice of participation in sacraments. They are powerful elements in the education of children. If you are a parent, you come to church, the child is watching you. First Sunday, you receive communion. Second Sunday, you receive communion. Third Sunday, fifth Sunday. And then you not be telling the child, go for a catechism class, go and do your first Sunday. It's not one thing. You that have received first Sunday communion, you are always sitting there, not receiving communion. Why is it that you are not telling me to go and receive communion? So you can see that it's not about your own soul now. So even though you don't want to, you are quarreling with Christ, just go for confession, receive communion for the sake of your children, so that they will know that it is good to receive communion. For some parents who just sometimes, men do this most times, they just wake up and tell the mother, carry the children, Mona go church, Mona go Friday, come, and they will never see you. So this Sunday, Mona go and they come, they will not see you. Next Sunday, go. After that, you will see that when you say go, the first son will be crying. Because he's taking after you. He knows that there is something, the father is not following them. So that is why sometimes when you talk about witnessing, although as Christians, we are called to be holy, we are called to be upright and righteous, but it's not about yourself. At that point in time, once you start having children, it's no longer about what you believe personally. It's about what God wants you to tell these children. Remember the day of marriage, the priest asks you, are you willing to accept children lovingly from God and bring them according to the laws of God and the church? You said, yes, I do. So it's not about what you believe now personally. It's what about the church has asked you to teach these children. Because the family is seen as a domestic church. Just as the church, as we are taught that the family is a domestic church. Domestic church means that just as in the entire world you have diocese, 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 diocese. Within the diocese, you have parish, parish, parish. So within the parish, you now have family, 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 family. That family is seen as a domestic church. Just as the Reverend Father is obliged to preach to the parishioners what the church teaches, not what he thinks or what he is whether it's what he is convinced of. It's expected that he will believe what the church is teaching and he will believe what he's saying. But if for any reason he has any doubt, that doubt should not be transmitted to the parishioners. So in your parenting as a domestic church, if for any reason your faith has any form of doubt, don't allow that doubt come to your children. Teach them according to the standards that the church has given to you. Be conscious of that. One is teaching the moral law. Teaching the moral law. When your children go to school, you will teach them mathematics, teach them English, teach them, but you will be the one to tell them, do not steal. You will be the one to tell them, do not tell lies. You will be the one to tell them, don't fight. You will be the one to tell them, after food, you wait for everybody before you stand up and go and be playing. You are the one to tell them, you wait for everybody to pray before you start eating. These are little things that as parents, you have the obligation to teach your children in moral laws. They will just learn the theory in school, learn the theory, even in catechism class. Catholics will only come and tell them, that shall not lie, that shall not this one, that shall not kill, and all that. It is when they get home, the practical aspect, that is when you are able to explain to the child, this one you just said now is a lie, it's a sin. You have to go for confession because you just told a lie. So, as parents, you have the responsibility to teach the moral law. Respect for human dignity, love of neighbor, responsibility for one's action, formation of conscience. Formation of conscience. If the child is not formed to acknowledge that a particular act is a sin, even when that child commits that sin later on, he will be wondering why everybody is saying it's a sin. Because the conscience has not been well formed. The formation of the conscience is very important. More important than any form of training the person will have. If the conscience is already well formed, that is when the church can even preach to the conscience. That is where another person can preach or talk to the conscience. Some people say you talk to the conscience of the person. Someone whose conscience is deformed, what are you going to be talking to? That is why the parents have the moral responsibility of forming that conscience. And you can see why many children they feel that especially mother, they talk too much, talk too much. Yes, talk much. Don't talk. Just see them. That talking you are talking, they may be angry, but it's that talking that forms their conscience. Don't just tell them what you did is wrong, stop it. No. After topic, even when you punish the person, after punishing the child, you now sit down. That is the one we hated those days. You see, after you do something, my father will punish you. After the punishment, once someone come and explain again, you are punished or have done the punishment. Why you now stressing everybody again? But it's the formation of the conscience, and now we are understanding that it's the formation of conscience. You have to understand why I punished you, and know that this is the reason why this thing is wrong. Don't just say, don't go near the television, come and sit down here, stop talking. No, you have to explain to the person, when you do this one, this will happen. Don't do this because God said we should not do this. And God said we should not do this because this and this. This is the consequence of doing this. That is how to form conscience. And you know that for you to do that, you have to be knowledgeable in the moral laws. If you are not knowledgeable in the moral laws, you cannot form the conscience of another person. That means that as a parent, you have the responsibility to seek knowledge in the moral laws. Don't just, when you are growing up, of course, we know stealing is a sin. We know that killing is a sin. We know that adultery is a sin. We know that calling the name of the Lord in vain is a sin. But the next question is, why? Why is killing a sin? You must be able to explain that. If you cannot explain that, read, ask questions. Thank God things are very easy now. You have your phone. Google it. Google it. Why is stealing a sin? Why is stealing not morally acceptable? Try and read it. Because if we don't make the conscious effort to educate our children in the moral laws, you will see that their conscience will not be formed according to a particular purpose. For a conscience to be formed according to a particular purpose means that there is uniformity in the goals of the different laws. As Christians, what unites our moral laws is that we are children of God and God is love. That is the principle that unites all moral laws. So, whatever you are telling somebody is a sin, you must be able to tell the person how he negates that attribute of God as love and how it contradicts the fact that we are children of God who is love himself. So try and understand these things yourself. If you have children, you cannot remain at that level of father say, father say, father say. No. In your houses, you are the Reverend Father there now. You must be able to explain to them, this is the reason why this is like this. This is the reason we should not tell lies. This is the reason we should not kill. This is the reason you must not steal. If you don't do that, the conscience will be formed either by another person or by a principle that is alien to them. And so, once you have the knowledge, you are able to pass on this to your children, you help them to reflect on their actions. Reflect on their actions. They call it in philosophy self-midwifery of knowledge. That is to say, helping the child to realize that what he or she has done is wrong. If the child goes to steal, and you just start beating the child, you want to steal, he will not even understand why are they beating him before he went to steal. He will not even understand what you're talking about. After the punishment, you now tell the person, if you are the owner, let's say you have money, I gave you $50 yesterday, Abi, you now say yes. If you now come back and somebody collects that $50 I gave you to buy ice cream yesterday, will you be happy? You now say no. Okay, the person you collected this $50 from now, do you think the person will be happy? You say no. If he's not happy, how is the person? The person will be sad. Do you like to be sad? No. Are you happy when you make other person sad? You will say no. He is now realizing what he is doing. That is self-midwifery of knowledge. You have try as much as possible help the child to come to realization that what he has done or what she has done is wrong. So it's not about just punishment after punishment, no explanation. After punishment, no explanation. The child will either see you as a wicked person or will be looking for avenue to eliminate himself from you and say, okay, I have freedom. And that's when the child enters school, you thank God, I don't free. But you put yourself at this level where the child will see you as someone who is educating him or educating her. Then the prayer life and sacramental life, very important. How to relate with God, how to see God as a father, how to experience the love of God, and how to get others to experience that same love of God. To teach the child that the child is a child of God, and therefore he should be generous, he should be charitable, life of sacrifice. That is when they are small, when they are they are still either babies or children or teenagers that you can teach that. Once they reach adulthood, it's difficult for you to let them know that God is their Father. And then finally, we talk about guiding the children towards moral freedom. Towards moral freedom. Many children, they know what is wrong. They know that they can distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. But they don't have the courage to make the decision. They don't have the courage to reject what is evil, even when they go out of the house, either to school or to church or other places where they meet other children. They may know, you may have told them that don't steal, don't do this, don't do that. But you have to teach them to get to that level of attaining moral freedom, to be able to make the decision on their own without even recourse to you to say, I know that this is wrong and I will not do it. You must take them to that level. And that is why you must follow up in terms of their action in your absence. Very important. Their actions in your absence. You have to ask them, when you go to school today, what happened? Not say you went there during break, this one now push this one, you now ask me to push this one. So that is when you follow up, and let's also be concerned what the child does in your absence. So that when the child is in a place where you are not present, the child will be also connected with you. That is how the child can have that moral courage to say no to evil. But if there's that disconnect, that you only train them at home, and when they go out, you don't care what happens in your absence, then when they are in your absence, they now start doing things that may be contrary, that may contradict the things that you told them in your presence. So, being concerned about what happens when you are not there is very important for the child to attain that moral freedom. So, from the Catholic perspective, parents are entrusted by God with the sacred mission of forming their children's moral character through loving witness, faithful teaching, discipline grounded in charity, and reliance on grace. Parents help shape consciences capable of truth, goodness, and holiness. In doing so, they participate in God's own work of forming saints. God has invited us to be co-creators. That was why He did not create the children and then He did not create them and keep them somewhere to become adults. He decided to allow you to participate in bringing them forth and forming them until they become adults. That is why, let's always say, we are co-creators. We are participating in the creative act of God. So that process of being the first formators of children helps us and gives us the privilege to participate in the creative work of God. And it's a very noble task. No parents should fail in this. May God help us to be good parents and to educate our children in the right path through Christ our Lord.
Amen.